Welcome to Jared Scott Outdoors. This YouTube channel is dedicated to getting our youth more involved in the outdoors. To do this, I'll be out with family and friends doing all sorts of outdoor adventures.
We went to a spot that was kind of close to camp at 6:30, and there's a ton of hunters. So we decided to change areas, come up where we archery hunted last 2 years, something like that. And then on the kind of like the first ridge, I guess, my dad was like, that'd be ideal if it was right there, but knowing us, it's not going to be there. But turns out there's 2 bulls right up there, all sixers. So we're going to try to make our way up there. Hopefully it works out. If it doesn't, just got to make this work. We've been hiking for no joke, 3 or 4 hours straight. So it's kind of exhausting, but we're getting places. I took a shot off. We're not for sure if I hit it or not, but I got it pretty quick. So we'll have to just see what happens.
Well, a good friend of mine, Jay Blake, who knew of my daughter's tag, was willing to head out with me into some high country in search of elk. To make the story of what was a long day for Jay and I short, when we had just a few hundred feet in elevation still to gain, the snow suddenly became much deeper. In fact, too deep for the horses. We tied the horses up and hiked up to a good vantage point and found that there were no elk anywhere. In fact, even if Jay and I had found a big buck that we could go after, the snow was so deep, without snowshoes, we would not have been able to effectively go after it. Just the half mile we hiked in knee-deep snow took a couple hours and all the energy we could muster. At this point, all we could do was get the horses and head out, pack up camp, and go to some lower country. So now the next morning, after hours of driving that last night and a late camp setup, we found ourselves hiking into another spot. Jay took his horses for a ride elsewhere looking for deer, while Abbie and I were looking for elk.
This morning we got up bright and early and we went to one spot and there was a lot more hunters than we were thinking. So even though we lost the morning, we decided to come to this other spot. And it ends up working right now as far as we can tell, because we just found 2, hopefully 2 bulls, 1 for sure. But we're going to go try to get them. We'll see what happens.
It was a terrible night last night trying to find a spot, but we ended up here heading up a canyon. We got some closer stuff that I was telling her as we were hiking. It's like it'd be ideal if they were here, but we could never see anything, knowing they're probably way back there. And before we got out of sight of this closer, it's 1,000+ feet up, but this closer place, I thought, let me look one more time. I've got one angle on a little teeny piece of country I haven't seen. Behind us, I look back, there's a bull. So this may very well work out really nice to have something closer than I thought we'd have to go, which would be amazing because we've got a lot of work if we can get one. But a couple bulls to work from, and 6s as near as I can tell. So we just got to get a better angle, get in closer, and let Abbie do her thing. Abbie says her heart is just beating like crazy, and that's because I said 1,000 feet. It's probably 2,000 feet. It's way up there. So we're putting on a good sweat, but it'll be worth it.
This is one of those climbs that goes on and on. We knew it would be steep, but the progress was slow.
I was hoping there'd be a little bit of a saddle or hump to then see up to them, but it's just a straight up mess. And anyway, so we're gonna have to buckle up and we're gonna decide he'll get further up the canyon so that when the wind shifts, they don't catch us, and try to get on another finger ridge looking across. It's pretty thick, so we got our work cut out for us to try to find something. This is a tough place anyways, but she'll make it happen. Otherwise, I push her down the hill.
Because we weren't able to go straight up to the elk and the slow progress we were making, I knew that before we would get the angle we needed for a shot, the wind would be shifting. Instead of risking the elk spooking, we just bit the bullet and swung wide to the left. This would add a lot to the hike, but would be worth it in the long run.
Well, it's been a couple hours since we first started up this hill, and it's proved to kick our butts, but we finally spotted them about 800 yards away, so it's bedded up in a good spot. So we're hoping we can get in from going on the back side of this ridge and kind of just working our way towards him, so we can only hope.
At this point, we just finished our hike up to the ridge. Of course, that's easier said than done, as it still took considerable effort. When we finally made it to the top, it was a good feeling because that meant now we could get the game on and go after this bull. We swung around the ridge a ways, and then when we thought we were close enough to slip up to the top and find the bulls, Abbie pulled out the gun and loaded it around. Then we snuck up carefully to the top and peeked over. However, we couldn't see the point where the bulls were, not even close. So we dropped back down and got closer, peeking over several times, trying to find a vantage point to see the elk from the side. In the end, we just couldn't find any. At this point, all we could do was get right above where they last were and see if we could see them without spooking them ourselves, if they were even still there. As we crept closer and closer, I suddenly saw the two bulls bedded up, and they were closer than I expected. We backed up just a bit to get out of sight and scooted to our left, putting a tree between us and them. Then we snuck forward to the tree. With the branches covering us, we very carefully got a good look at them and made our plan. The plan was actually simple. I just had to get Abbie on the right side of me, clear of those tree branches, so she had an open shot to the elk. Of the two elk, you can see the one that's in the open. That was the smaller of the two bulls, from what I'd seen at the bottom hours ago. So I knew that the bull with his head behind the tree was the bigger bull. And luckily for Abbie, the way it was bedded up gave her a good angle into the vitals.
It's kind of a little bit in the...
I bet they were only 150 yards away, so it should be a chip shot if Abbie could keep her nerves calm. I explained to her that with it bedded up and on a steep downhill angle, she needed to aim high in the vitals on the side we could see so that she would hit the opposite side lung going out as well. If not, it'd be a single lung hit and it could run a long ways if that happened.
Just middle of the body up and down.
With her knowing right where to aim, she snuck over to my right and steadied for the shot.
Put another one in.
Well, the elk ran off so quick we couldn't be 100% sure of the shot. I thought it looked hit, but wasn't totally sure. Running over to a point we could possibly see them if she had missed and they tried to escape over the ridge, we watched and waited.
All right, Abbie, so a rough day, rough start to the night and morning. You just shot a bull.
We're hoping you say it. We checked the footage and it kind of looked like he was. So I'm hoping, but we'll have to just go find him.
You gotta love that when you have a day that starts out pretty cruddy and other hunters, mostly deer hunters, I think, just all over the place. We were hoping to hunt and shifting plans, driving around, late start. And here we are, Abbie's got an elk down. We assume. It looked like she got a good hit, so we just kind of ran over to where they might come out and have seen nothing yet. So we'll go ahead and drop down in there where it was, and we should be able to follow it and find it in this mess of timber down here that we just climbed up. Good job.
Thanks.
After several minutes of absolute nothing, it was time to head down and see for sure what had happened. Well, that's all we needed to see. Red in the snow and lots of it. It was obvious this bull was lung hit and it wasn't going to go far at all. I had no worries at all that this bull was down somewhere in the trees below us. Following that easy blood trail through the trees, just as expected, there was the bull. I happened to see it before Abbie, and so I swung the camera her way to catch her reaction when she saw it below her.
I was waiting for you to see it. There you are.
I get a hug. Oh.
Let's go check him out.
Well, here you go. We've got Abbie's bull here. She made a perfect shot, put it right where we wanted it. And so it was easy to follow down here just a little bit into the snow. Nicely, it dropped down a little bit of elevation for us.
Oh, yeah.
We're happy for that. But what do you think of the day?
It was exciting. It kind of started out rough, but we put our miles in and it turned out, so it was worth it.
Yep, and patience paid off, making sure to get the right shot and all the extra work we did hiking up here. So it was just really fun to share this experience of her getting her first bull elk and antelope.
Yeah.
She's rocking it this year. If you liked what you saw, please subscribe to the Jared Scott Outdoors YouTube channel.